Someone who's been around for the whole story and even before. Attacking Yuichiro, fighting Yujiro, Goki, Ali Jr., Musashi and many more. However, a character with potentially the most misinformation out there, resulting in people throughout the Baki fandom fighting about which version of Doppo is the strongest. Today, that question will be answered with tons of support from the manga itself, including many reveals. Welcome to How Strong is Doppo Orochi. If this is the type of stuff you enjoy, consider hitting that subscribe button. Also, 3,500 likes for the next video in this series to drop. I hope you enjoy. Our boy is a wielder of the best defensive move in the whole series by miles. Like, you can't do better than this. Simple facts. Starting out with, why do people think young Doppo is the strongest? When he confronted Yuichiro Hanma, he attacked him with a kick and Yuichiro said this: "Nice kick, I think you broke my jaw." A lot of people in the fandom like to praise Yuichiro as someone stronger than Yujiro, which isn't confirmed whatsoever in the series, and kinda another piece of misinformation I talked about in this video. However, he's definitely quite strong regardless, so Doppo being able to do that amount of damage to him is huge. However, it is possible Yuichiro was just trolling that scene, as with the final panel we don't really see any damage to his jaw, or any sign that's really broken in my opinion, and Yuichiro also took damage from the photo wrestler Doppo destroyed in that same chapter. Of course, this was due to him suppressing himself, but even when Doppo confronted him, Yuichiro just stood there and took the blow. So it's kinda not really 100% confirmed or really something you should take to the absolute extremes. This happened in chapter 1 of Baki Gaiden Kenjin, a 5-chapter Doppo spin-off story. But the big thing that kinda debunks this straight away is later in the spin-off itself we see Doppo training, with him saying he wants to become strong, so this version of Doppo just really can't be the strongest. We see and know most of the cast in Baki train, resulting in them to get progressively stronger, but a thing to take note is at different rates. I'll talk more on this later on. A large amount of the fandom believe the Doppo who faced Yujiro in early Grapple Baki is his prime, thus the strongest version of him. This is for the following reasons. When they confronted each other, Yujiro talks about Doppo training, again debunking the Yujiro stuff, and that he could have ripped his heart apart. This is them just setting up their fight, by the way. The narrator later states that this may be the last year he can stay in his prime, including mentioning speed, strength, stuff like that. However, do take note, this is a dodgy Wildfang translation, but even while considering that statement, I can debunk it later on. Doppo also beating up base Yujiro, resulting in him to use his demon back. Doppo losing an eye in that fight, making it the last time he's actually used this ability in the series, a very strong defensive move. Him actually technically dying for a short span of time during that fight as well. However, we have many things to discuss that point to this version of Doppo not being the strongest. Let's begin. Him doing everything there is to become stronger, this is said during the Maximum Tournament, which is much later on during the first manga series Grapple Baki. Never being able to complete his fighting style until the Maximum Tournament. This information page was provided in New Grapple Baki, the second manga series in the franchise, at the start of the Death Row Convicts arc for context. This is also the only manga series that has an official English translation where this scan actually comes from, but it has very important things to discuss. Mentions his defeat to Yujiro and proceeds to say, Orochi style karate is still incomplete declared by Orochi, who continues his untiring quest for perfection. This quest led him to the Ultimate Fighters Tournament, meaning Maximum Tournament. During his fight with Goki, he finally showcased his perfected Orochi style karate form. We know he was defeated in that fight regardless, but the information page continues to state, the deciding factor was believed to be the slight difference in age. Those few additional years of experience gave the master the edge. So Goki being older is perhaps the reason he won against Doppo, potentially debunking the whole age thing and that skill is more important in this context. From there, he embarked on a journey to seek even greater strength, not for karate, not for the academy, but for himself. And we see him returning from this journey here in the Death Row Convicts arc. Much of this disproves the argument for Prime Doppo. We also got this as something extra, training once again. Characters are getting stronger throughout the series. That's why new antagonists get introduced for, of course, the main cast, the stronger main cast to fight. However, people like Yujiro and Baki have been getting stronger to a higher degree. For example, we go from Baki being one-shot by Pickle to him clowning on him with techniques in the same arc. Yes, he still lost that fight, but that's for other reasons. I recommend having a reread of Pickle vs Baki. Yujiro went from being shocked by Pickle's strength to being relative or stronger than the most serious Musashi during his arc, who destroyed a stronger Pickle during that same time as well. Going back to Doppo, however, we even had Ali Jr. compare Doppo to Kaku, saying that while Kaku is 150 years old, with Doppo not being close to that, he's still up there, so perhaps relative to Kaku. Another thing to consider is Kaku said he would stop his heart rather than fighting Pickle, pretty much conceding during the Pickle arc that he's not really that relevant anymore if I'm being honest. But let's have a look at what current Doppo can do in Baki Dao 2018. Counters current Baki's maximum output cockroach dash. Remember what it did to Yujiro during Son of Ogre? So I hope all of this is enough for everyone to understand the might of current Doppo and the fact that every character has just been getting stronger. Now let's go over some of his power and abilities. Was able to cut Dorian's wire with the following specifications. Can continue fighting even with the following injuries, including when he even loses a hand. Pretty wild. He most likely has the brain activity, which is a similar ability to pre-initiative from the Kangenverse, as he's the one who explains Baki having it at 18 with an example or a demonstration of him potentially using it, so it's most likely the case. He was able to counter being under full hypnosis by Dorian with his fighting skill alone. Able to counter Musashi's imagination blades 3 times. Was able to remove the intent of his strike, with Goki claiming it's more important or dangerous than the speed of it. Seems to be an expert of the body and various pressure points. Jack also recently claims that karate techniques are supposed to be effective one-on-one against weapons and even against groups, perhaps against everything. Sadly, however, Doppo doesn't really have a crazy win. Like, he won his sumo match, I guess is cool. Lost and defeated Ali Jr. Lost to Musashi, Yujiro, Goki, and defeated Dorian and Doyle. Of course, he likes roaming the streets and beating up randoms as well, and tigers, he's good at that. But yeah, that's really everything I can talk about in today's video. Of course, at the recording of this video, Jack Hanma has called out many people including Doppo, so he may get something crazy revealed during that fight or some crazy feat, but we'll have to wait and see. I hope you enjoyed my How Strong is Doppo Orochi. Check out the other stuff in the description, and of course, shout out to these mad lads who support the channel via the Patreon. But yep, that's it guys, peace.